Are you planning to visit Seoul? Because I know most of you will end up on this Orange Express train. Welcome to the Airport Railroad Express. Operating 3 services every 2 hours, this train takes 51 minutes to get to Seoul Station. However, as you'll see, what should be a run-of-the-mill airport express is actually a can of worms. Tales and stories of questionable design choices that require a deeper analysis. In this video, we will be taking the 4 PM service from Incheon Terminal 2 right to the City Airport Terminal at Seoul Station. If you are interested in trip reviews in Japan and Korea, please consider subscribing as we push for 1 video every 2 weeks. Terminal 2 at Seoul Incheon handles Jin Air, which is where we begin this video. I have just gotten off a Jin Air 777-200ER. To think that 777s fly on budget carriers in general is pretty unheard of. Thankfully, I have a trip review of that flight from Tokyo Narita, so you can head there after watching this if you are interested. The path to the Airport Railroad Express is quite clear after immigration. Head down this underground passage, and you will end up at the infamous arrival gate. If you listen to K-pop, then yeah, it's that place. Once exiting, head downstairs and you will end up at the concourse for bus and rail transport. Much like the rest of Incheon Airport, the Airport Railroad Express is quite young, at 24 years old. In fact, the entirety of Terminal 2 only opened in 2018, just 7 years ago. Now I swear these debut dates are getting out of hand.
What did he say?
The Airport Railroad Express offers 2 service levels on a 64-kilometer 40-mile line from the airport to Seoul Station. Local services are branded in the color blue, averaging 1 stop roughly every 2 to 5 kilometers or every 1.5 to 3 miles. Blue services also make a stop at Gimpo Airport, which is the other major airport for Seoul. Express trains on the other hand are branded in orange and operate directly between Seoul Station and Incheon Airport at both terminals. I personally love the consistency of the coloring. It's explicit and it's really effective in terms of wayfinding. Ordering from the ticket machine was very straightforward. Instructions are available in English as well as in Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. The machines take credit cards and cash in Korean won. The train costs 13,000 won to ride as of May 2025, and the inbound fare is free if you have the Discover Seoul Pass. If you use Klook, then you can also purchase a voucher online. On the vending machine, switch the language to English, select your boarding time, and then enter your code if you have it. Otherwise, proceed with a cash or credit card payment. Tickets can also be purchased through an app, as well as from the official website. Do note that only tickets purchased from the app or from the website offer the ability to change or pick your seat. If you are using the vending machine, then unfortunately you will not be able to select your seat. Sadly, the train I wanted was full, which was the next closest departure. So there were a couple options which I could have gone with here. The first option was to take the slower 80-minute long journey. This option would have been faster by at least 10 minutes compared to waiting for the next express service. Taking the all-stop blue train would have cost less, 5,000 won instead of 13,000. After being jet-lagged from Japan, I wanted a guaranteed seat to the city, albeit one that was oriented in the direction of travel. Besides, the seats on the all-stops train are only sideways. Now what I ended up doing was waiting for the next express train. So in that time, I did 2 things. First was to try Korean Burger King. Now this is a trust society, so you just leave your stuff outside and sit down to eat. Second was to buy my power adapter. Now do not get ripped off in your home country. The convenience store near the Burger King had adapters for less than 7,000 won. After killing about 50 minutes, we proceed downstairs to the platform. The gate scans the QR code on your ticket. Just make sure you have the right color. Now the waiting area is quite a ways underground, but do note that the front of the platform is sealed off. You'll get to why that is in a bit. And after a short wait, the train arrives at the platform. This is the Airport Railroad 1000 series. This series is made up of 6 6-car trains which were delivered in 2 batches, in 2006 and 2009. Now the exterior of these trains are screaming Hyundai Rotem. As someone from Vancouver, the similarities between these and our Canada Line trains is uncanny. A quick 8-minute ride takes us to an abomination that is Incheon Airport Terminal 1 station. Terminal 1 is basically the botched Korean equivalent of Keisei Narita Airport Terminals 2 and 3 station. Doesn't roll off the tongue quite well. Anyways, at Terminal 1, the platform has enough space for 8 cars. However, the weird part here is that the back half of the platform is for express trains, while the front half is for the local trains. This means that for each train, only 4 of the 6 cars are available. Anyways, I think the idea here was to have both services use the same tracks. I believe that somewhere in the planning stage it was decided to physically separate the services, and that results in this strange setup. And that's not the only crazy part. From 2014 until 2018, the airport was a station on the KTX high-speed rail network. These high-speed trains would depart from the additional platforms at both Terminals 1 and 2. KTX services were discontinued in July 2018 due to low ridership, meaning that KTX services at Terminal 2 lasted just 7 months. The platforms for the high-speed trains remain, but have not been in use since then except in 2019. Regardless, they would need to be entirely rebuilt to serve the airport express trains. But right now, this would be a pretty ambitious project, so I see the faster local trains they're doing right now as being a compromise compared to rebuilding the platforms. As we leave Terminal 1, let's take a look at our journey this afternoon. The Express is a one-shot service from Incheon Airport to Seoul Station. The airport is located on Yeongjong Island, and we crossed the $1.4 billion Yeongjong Bridge to run alongside the Ara Canal. We sprint by Gimpo Airport, along Seoul Subway Line 2, and then we spike north to Seoul Station. The 1000 series has a cabin that is split into 2 sections, each in a 2-2 configuration. Each section has fixed seating facing either forwards or backwards, which means that half the train sits backwards. The seat itself is comfy and they do recline. There is also a footrest which only snaps into one position, and instead of a tray table, you get this metal pocket with a few pamphlets in Korean and English. There are onboard screens which display these adorable safety clips. As for luggage space, large check-in luggage can be stored at the racks at the end of the car, and if you have a smaller carry-on luggage, then those can be stored in the racks above the seat. Elsewhere on the train, there is a washroom inside car 4. This lavatory was clean and was equipped with a sink as well as a changing table. Moving on into car 6, this is the kids' car, and you will notice that the back of the car is blocked off. The reason for that is because the car is actually carrying checked luggage behind that door. But how do you store luggage in this car and out of the way of other passengers? Now stay tuned because we will talk about that when we get to Seoul Station. Now much of the railway is underground aside from the western section in Incheon. So remember how at Terminal 2 we saw part of the platform that was sealed off? And how at Terminal 1 we had that confusing platform setup? Now there are a few reasons behind all this, and this was something I brought up earlier in the video. Initially, there are all these provisions for 8-car trains. However, basically this has become impractical within the last few years. Recent updates show that the local service is getting newer and faster trains. Right now, the trains on both the local and express service reach a top speed of 110 km an hour or 68 miles an hour. These newer trains will be able to push 150 km or 93 miles an hour. The faster trains seem to be the solution to overcrowding on the all-stop service. The main culprit here is the stop at Gimpo Airport, which also provides a connection to Seoul Metro Lines 5 and 9, as well as to a couple other lines. Not to mention, Gimpo Airport itself serves its share of flights within Korea, such as the ultra-busy Jeju service, as well as to other nearby overseas destinations. On top of that, plans are in place to operate through service on the local trains from Incheon Airport to Line 9, which is an express service that stays on the south side of the River Han. This will allow passengers to go from the airport directly to Gangnam, which is one of the other major metropolis districts in the city. So to summarize, because of faster trains, overcrowding, and provisions for through service, 8-car trains are not happening anytime soon, and making the trains go faster seems to be the compromise solution compared to rebuilding the platforms at Incheon Airport. Finally, we reached Seoul Station, and specifically Seoul Station City Airport Terminal. Arrival at the station is at the 7th basement level. Carry on upstairs to the 3rd basement level where the exit is. Now recall car number 6 on the train and the space for checked luggage. On the 2nd basement level, there is an area set aside for early immigration and flight check-in. If you are flying with any of the major Korean carriers such as Jin Air, Korean, T-Way, and Asiana, You can check in for your airline up to 3 hours and 20 minutes before your scheduled flight. Your luggage goes onto car number 6, and you can even complete immigration right after checking in. And at Incheon, this would allow you to enter through a secret door, separate from everyone else lining up for immigration. Now of course this would save time. However, this wouldn't really be available for those busy early morning flights, unless you get to Seoul Station at say 5 in the morning. And the express services to these early morning flights are also prone to selling out as well. Now all this talk about the city terminal is gonna open another can of worms, so I am going to link a few tutorials by other YouTubers on how you would use the check-in at Seoul Station. Now as I run out of footage to use, here are my final thoughts. The Airport Railroad Express offers both a quick connection to central Seoul, as well as a good competing product compared to the buses. The ticketing is straightforward and the onboard washroom was a nice touch. That said, there are 3 things I would like to improve. First is that Car 6 doesn't actually carry luggage on the inbound trips to Seoul, and I would change that to have more space on the train. Second is that the service is not frequent enough. Now having to ride the local train and see it get full at Gimpo Airport wouldn't be a pleasant experience. The train gets to Gimpo Airport and now you're looking if you have to give up your seat. Visitors should be able to catch the closest train to when they clear immigration. And this ties into my third point, where people should be able to select a seat on the ticketing machine. Who knows how long immigration is before you arrive? It also makes no sense for you to reserve your seat before entering the country. And with the faster trains being delivered, the direct express might not make sense to keep around in the future. Perhaps another ideal solution could be to rebuild the former KTX platforms at the airport to handle the airport express. But then again, that would be costly. I'm poised to see how the faster trains end up working out. Maybe an extension to Myeongdong would actually increase ridership. But for now, I think the Direct Express is a really attractive option for people wanting to go straight to Seoul. And with all that being said, welcome to the biggest station in the country, Seoul Station. Originally built in 1925, additions to the current complex were added in 1988, and the current station was completed in 2003-2004 to coincide with the opening of the Korean high-speed rail network. Now virtually all major stations in South Korea feature a Lotte department store and several fast food restaurants. And of course, Seoul Station bears no exception. While the station provides connections to various buses, regional trains, and the subway network, new platforms serving the northern section of the GTX high-speed metro line opened in December 2024. Now as I wrote the script for this video, I realized that I got really lucky with my hotel choice. In addition to being located within walking distance to Seoul Station, this thing was basically a tiny pod with only room for your luggage, bed, and a shower. But it was 79 Canadian all-inclusive for 2 nights, which made it a big steal. Now the clerk who helped me was also really kind and he spoke English. And yeah, that will be it for this video, as I am about to head out to Myeongdong to dive into skincare, K-pop, and urbanism for the night. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing for more trip reviews and train videos in Japan and Korea. Thank you for watching. 감사합니다. 고조샤 아리가또 고자이마시다.